After a bit of a wait again, the series finale of Murder Drones has finally been released. Apparently they had over a year to work on the animation and they really cooked hard. There are a few gripes I had with the episode, but I'll get into it when I poorly explain the episode and at the end of the video. Anyways, time to explain Murder Drones episode 8 in the dumbest way possible. The episode starts off with us on the surface of Copper 9, where we see the aftermath of Sin going to the center of the planet. We get a few scenes showing what is happening on the surface, and we also see the remains of Brayden and Rebecca from episode 4. We see everything is starting to float around, and we cut to the teacher grading Uzi's essay that she clearly put a lot of effort into. What, you don't have a god complex and express it in your essay? Loser. The teacher sees that all the desks are floating as he is shot into space. Jesus, the level of not giving a shit about the situation really shows this guy has been like divorced like 5 times and is the pinnacle of masculine representation in the show. The teacher walks outside and sees all the chunks of the planet around him as he sees the planet's core exposed. We then see Sin getting ready to form a black hole and executes a command that sends tendrils everywhere and grabs all the chunks of the planet and drags them in. And no, this is not the start of a hentai. We cut to Uzi still floating in space after she went through Sin's glory hole. She starts floating further and further away until Nori comes by and gives her a rock to sit on. She comes back to bond with Uzi a bit and continues to be nothing more than an expositionary character. At least she doesn't stay for most of the episode. So after acting all cute like she didn't just assist in blowing up the planet, she tells Uzi that in order to kill Sin, you have to destroy her heart. So this is just Undertale now. Uzi also asks Nori how she can prevent Sin from taking control of her, and Nori says that you only get controlled if you're a little bitch. So trauma is a joke now. Let's go. Nori tries to give Uzi her pickaxe to help fight, but a spaceship comes by and hits Uzi and sends Nori down into Copper 9. Uzi starts holding onto the side of the ship and a tail comes out to grab her. We then see its N flying the ship terribly, and I don't know if it's just me, but like, N looks really off in this one scene. Like, his mouth is just really weird. Uzi throws a wrench at N and starts yelling at him, telling him that her mom was out there and hugs him. Most bipolar emo I've ever seen. N says that he's a little pissed about what Uzi did last episode, but they'll discuss it later. They don't discuss it later. N starts flying the ship faster, dodging all the rocks, and it cuts back into the side of the ship where the power is taken out and a tendril starts jamming its way through the ship and shows a message from Sin telling them to stop. Sin then proceeds to rip the ship in half, sending Uzi and N straight down into Copper 9, which causes them to start burning up in the atmosphere. They reach out for each other, and Uzi and N finally admit their feelings, and they are now officially dating. Uzi and N fly down faster so they can go get ready to fight Sin. We cut to Jay sitting on top of the remains of Cabin Fever Labs, while Thad, Lizzie, and Con are slowly sliding off the ice. Jay decides that they're taking a little too long to die, so she goes down on the ice to finish the job faster. She fires a missile, which is stopped by V riding a Sentinel. Yep, V's alive. And this is when I realized that this episode won't be as depressing as I was hoping it would be. V and the Sentinel start charging at Jay, blocking and firing back anything that Jay shoots at them. V manages to get behind Jay and the two start to have a one-on-one fight. The Sentinel decides to have a real good look at Lizzie and proceeds to harass her for the rest of the episode. V kicks Jay into the ground so hard that the island tilts, launching everyone into space. Also, Con is going to be the Volume 3 soundtrack cover. I'm starting to realize how incredibly base these raptors are. We cut back to V and Jay fighting, and V yelling at Jay, telling her that they could have gotten away from Sin, but Jay tells her to grow up, and the two fly back down onto the ice, where Jay manages to cut off V's leg. Jay gives V a chance to join Sin again, but V takes off Jay's hand. Uzi starts coming down and throws a black hole towards the center of the planet that stops Sin's tendrils from grabbing everything. Uzi and N hold each other's hands and start flying down faster and land on a catwalk thinking they're hot shit, but are quickly put off balance when the ground starts shaking. Sin starts rising up in front of them and destroys Uzi's black hole and continues to send the tendrils out to grab everything. Sin starts approaching them and N starts shitting his pants while Sin sends a command out to try to take control of Uzi. Uzi keeps control, but N is swiped away and Sin manages to get behind her and rips her core out. N comes back quickly and starts attacking Sin while Uzi is squirming on the ground trying to get her core back in her body. Sin quickly and literally disarms N and starts tearing him open and takes off his head. Uzi sees this and uses the solver to destroy the entire platform that they're on and uses the other platforms to launch themselves away from Sin. Uzi drags N into a building and Sin follows him in. We then see V and Jay fighting again with Jay talking massive shit to V. We're cut to inside of the building, which I assume is a part of Cabin Fever Labs, where Uzi is dragging N while he grows his head back. Sin runs into the room and sends out a bunch of hands and a callback ping command to take control of Uzi. We see Uzi and N hiding and N having a panic attack, which is kind of confusing considering that in episode 5 he seemed pretty chill about seeing his own dead body, but whatever, I guess. The two wait for Sin to pass by, but Sin quickly comes back because V crashed into the hallway. V starts apologizing for everything she'd done, but Sin makes a projection of N to trick her. N yells out loud and tells V to stop, which results in him getting impaled through the chest, with his core getting ripped out. Sin reminds V that they had a deal, and while V is freaking out, Sin cuts the lights and charges at V. V gets out, but she's quickly knocked down by Jay, and Sin throws N's body on the ground and comes out the door, getting ready to eat N's core. While V sits there, not trying to save my boy over here. Also, the music that plays in the background of this scene is probably one of my favorite bits of the episode. AJ has indeed cooked once again. The doorframe that Sin is using to prop herself up closes, severing all her extra limbs, and she drops N's core, which jumps back to his body. We were so close. Of course, Khan is the doorman, so he has a remote that can shut any door. Thad throws Uzi's railgun down while Sin goes to V and starts dragging down the building Uzi is in and gets ready to take out V, but is stopped by Uzi.
No one traumatizes these weirdly hot robots but me.
They just addressed the entire fandom. Uzi thanks V for not being dead, and Sin tries to take control of Uzi one last time but fails, with Uzi finally claiming her freedom through the power of self-confidence. That's kind of stupid. Nori sends down her pickaxe and her iPod so they can play a vocal track over the fight scene, which, by the way, goes hard. Sin and Uzi throw their holes at each other, pause, which redirects towards Sin, blowing up a bit of the planet. Uzi fires a railgun at Jay and doesn't even hit her because Jay's uselessness just projects onto everything else. So Uzi throws the railgun at Jay, which is more effective, and she charges at Sin and starts swinging the pickaxe at her, with Sin using Tessa's sword to block the swings. Uzi uses the pickaxe to pin down Sin's sword and the tendril, and uses her wing to cut Sin's face and kicks her backwards. Sin then redirects the sword back to Uzi but cuts off Jay's head instead, giving Uzi the easiest home run of the century with her head. Sin teleports around Uzi to confuse her, but Uzi ducks under Sin and stabs her with the pickaxe, but it switches to N being stabbed to trick her. Jay comes up behind Uzi, but the real N and V come to her defense. Jay is taken out of the fight for the rest of the episode, thank God, and N, Uzi, and V all get ready to charge at Sin. V launches missiles towards her, and N redirects one back at Sin. N then proceeds to charge at Sin, taking off her head. V starts shooting at Sin, and N joins in the shooting as well, and gets the upper hand for a bit until Sin changes her eyes to show pictures of dogs to stop N for a bit, and stabs him in the shoulder. He winks and Uzi comes up behind Sin and takes her head off. Sin teleports Uzi, getting ready to kill her, but V comes in from the side, kicking Sin off her, and then catches Sin and throws her into the air so V can play Jump the Donut. If you had a cool school, you'll know what that is. And sends her ass into the ground. Dude, what the fuck are you two doing? Your friend is getting her ass handed to her. V gets pinned to the wall, but before Sin can kill her, Uzi uppercuts her and sends her flying towards N, where he hits her with the pickaxe. N and V are quickly swiped away, leaving Uzi to stumble backwards as Sin reaches for her. As Sin reaches out for her, Uzi just so happens to turn around and reach her arm out, and Sin teleports into Uzi's hand. I am still in disbelief that it was that easy to kill her. Uzi grabs Sin's heart and rips it out, and she blows a hole into the planet, exposing the heart to sunlight, because they just remember that was the plot point. So the heart burns up and becomes a black hole, and makes everything around it black and white. We then see Uzi holding the remains of Sin's heart, which is a black hole, inside of a black hole that is going to enter a black hole. Holeception, anyone? Sin, barely clinging onto life, grabs Uzi's arm and tries to take her core back, but Uzi pulls a fast one and eats the fucking black hole. This makes everything go back to normal, and Sin collapses and starts to melt away as Uzi begins to pass out. It cuts to black, but the next thing we see is Uzi with the fatal error on her visor. The main character's dead, everyone. Time to pick up shot. Oh, never mind, the emo's back. She also wakes up in robot hell, so I guess GLaDOS wasn't lying. Thad manages to get out of the hole with a skateboard for some reason. Where did he get this, by the way? He helps Lizzie up, but she drops her phone onto Khan, who loses his grip, but is saved by Nori. She tells Khan that he doesn't know her and she hates him and runs away.
Kinda hot.
Appropriate reaction. The school bus comes out of the crater with the Sentinel riding it. This show could not get any dumber. N and V fly out and spot Uzi. N and Uzi hug, but V notices that Uzi has a mix of yellow and purple in her eyes, and points a gun at her. Uzi has a look at herself and says a line so cringy that I will show you all mercy and not play it. You're welcome. The three celebrate a bit, and Uzi uses her entire experience over the course of the show for a school project. Also, there's another reference in my channel. Thank you, Liam. Uzi takes back everything she said in the first episode, and everyone is cheering. Now that's just disrespectfully funny. And finally learned how to draw, and the show ends with Uzi freaking out the class.
Also, now I can do this.
And that's it. That's episode 8. I have officially covered every single episode in the show, very poorly, and I haven't left anything out, right?
You look great. Have you considered a bow, though?
Oh, son of a bitch. There's a lot I want to say about this episode and the show overall, but I think I'll save the rest for a dedicated review that I'll try to get out as fast as possible. I just want to touch on a few things that I felt were off about this episode, so I'm also going to use some voice calls that I had after the episode and a live stream I was in to help further my points. One thing that should be blatantly obvious is that they changed the art style and animation style for some reason. Now, don't get me wrong, the animation is really well done with this entire show, but the way it presents itself in episode 8 kind of makes it feel like Digital Circus but with a murder drone skin slapped on it.
The animation is also noticeably much more different.
Yeah, that's what threw me off. That threw me off so much.
Saturated.
Especially in the, what is it, when N was flying, when they got into the pod.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
That threw me off so much.
Dude, Tessin straight up
Tessin's-
like straight up Digital Circus.
Yeah, Tessin looks like...
Holy
Yeah,
shit,
that was so
what the f-
scary.
The animation, I do think it was better, but I still feel like it doesn't feel like murder drones.
It was absolutely clean though.
Like,
It was.
if
for the most
they
part.
held back a little bit on like the exaggerated like movement, then I think I'd
Yeah.
be more fine with it, with how they moved the
Yeah.
characters. Yeah. That.
Absolutely no disrespect to any of the animators, by the way. They still did a phenomenal job on this. It's just the art style change is just something I had to get used to. This episode seems to have been written with the least character development in mind compared to other episodes. Episode 5 was kind of just 20 minutes of exposition, but the best way I can describe this episode was a 20-minute fight scene. There were at least 2 moments that really stuck out to me, and I'd probably consider them the best moments in this entire episode since they kind of wrap up a previous point in the show. In episode 4, while N is trying to hold V back from killing Uzi, V drops this bit of dialogue.
V, we can't hurt Uzi.
Do our jobs, and that thing leaves us
Don't know
alone.
what you're talking about because you won't tell me.
This point that was made a year ago is finally brought up again where you can finally put the pieces together. In episode 8, while V and Jay are fighting, V repeats what she said to N to Jay, but making the claim that Jay is responsible for feeding them that lie.
We do our jobs on this planet, and it leaves us alone.
So at this point is when I realized I can finally put the pieces together. So from what was being implied, Sin struck a deal with Jay saying as long as the trio did their job of wiping out the entire population of the planet, they would for the most part be left alone. Jay told V this because she knew that N was too morally good and would most likely revolt against them if he knew the truth, which would jeopardize their safety. Sin knew that as well, so this is why she hit N with the casual brain aneurysm to make sure he really struggles to remember why he is killing or who originally sent him there, with V and Jay filling his head with more lies, leading him to believe that it was actually the parent company, JC Jensen, Jesus, remember when that was relevant, who was making him do this. It is also implied that for the most of the show, that V knew more than she was letting on, seeming like she remembers what N is talking about or who N is talking about whenever he would start bringing up characteristics of Sin or when he started talking about these nightmares he's having. So you can make the argument that the reason why V is such a stuck-up jackass for most of the show is out of fear of Sin. So once she finds out that N and Uzi are still alive, she starts to break down and apologizes for everything, which is possibly the highlight of the episode.
N, you're okay? I wasn't Tessa, it's Sin. She's here. And I don't know how much you remember, but Jay tricked us. Or it tricked Jay too. And I'm so sorry. I should have been honest, but I was just so scared for us.
Now this is what I call peak cinema. Now this episode did subvert a lot of expectations since the show was implying it was going to have a much darker ending. We also thought that the episode was going to be longer than normal because it would give them a chance to really wrap up things. But once we found out the runtime, we definitely had some positive things to say.
It's
Wait,
20
what?
minutes and 34 seconds!
What?
What? It's 20!
What?
It's low!
How
They
do you
fumbled
know?
the bag, lads. They fumbled the
Wait,
bag.
that's like the
They
third
fumbled.
lowest episode!
I was genuinely surprised that everyone managed to pull through, including the Absolute Solver, who now lives inside Uzi and I guess plays a similar role to Venom does to Eddie Brock. Khan, Lizzie, and Thad kind of did nothing but float in space for a while. Khan, I guess, sort of did something by saving N's life, but that's about it. Overall, I'd say as a finale, I'm somewhat satisfied with how it ended, but as a standalone episode, it really falls on its face. I mostly like it because it's just straight action for 20 minutes. I gotta shut my brain off. And what else do I need to say? Of course, AJ cooked hard with the soundtrack as per usual, and the new vocal tracks really took me by surprise, and I really enjoyed them. Bite Me and the end credit scenes are actual bangers, and I cannot wait for volume 3 of the soundtrack. Anyways, that's about it. If you did enjoy the video, please do consider leaving a like and subscribing. I'll try to get my official review out as fast as possible since I really want to cover this entire show in its entirety in one video. Anyways, see you in the next one.